What about running away is a problem?
But you don't get any closure. Maybe closure is the
What would
wrong word.
closure look like?
There's no back and forth. There's no back and forth. It's just stonewall, 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 stonewall. No, let me rephrase that. Stupid stonewall, stupid stonewall, stupid stonewall.
Idiocy, yeah. What if that's their inner experience?
What idiocy?
No, that's how they interact with their inner children. Or that's how they interpreted how they interacted with their parents or siblings.
They're fighting battles in the past.
So if they're fighting battles in the past and they're frozen in the past, the purpose is to
Well, they can't track.
fight the past.
Yeah, they can't track. They can't take any new information.
But if they're stuck in the past and they're just looping in the past, and then you as a new person in the present, they don't see you as a new person. They only see you through the filter of their unfinished past loop. They only see other people through a frozen reverse kaleidoscope of their past loop. They never make sense of the early trauma. They never make sense of the early whatever.
Well, they end up. It's almost like they have to freeze themselves in victim, and then they freeze who they perceive as the abuser as well, and you're both stuck.
Anyone they talk to, they bring into their stuckness.
Yeah. So even despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, that's stuck. And if you challenge it, then you actually accidentally fall into their frame.
If you challenge it, then they take that energy and then they script it. Because the contagion is so good, and the scripts and the confidence is so strong at the psychotic level, the desperation and the confidence, then we're prescribing agency and we're prescribing skill. We're filling the gap instead of just the contagion. The psychotic contagion is what's making things so sticky and tricky. It might be like a bit of a shell game. As long as you're chasing and you're trying to follow your prediction maps or your sense-making maps, it's going to be hard to see the game. It's going to be hard to see how simple it is. Blood battles. And because the tribal blood battles, the rule of idol, the rule of force, it isn't mapped out by psychology. The rules of blood war, kinship wars, they're different. And it's like really impulsive warfare, so it's not mental games, it's not emotional games, it's just pure dominance or
So it overrides the maternal covenant, or it's just different societally that never really plays out? It's in lieu of...
Well, if you don't have a maternal covenant to set ground rules for the family, if you don't have a parent that says, don't sexually abuse your siblings, if you don't have a parent that says, don't suffocate your siblings or use your siblings for sadistic joy or whatever, if you don't have someone to set some sort of family covenant rules, then the children learn it's the rules of the street inside the home. Then they don't really scale up to learn society because they're still trying to just... well, the ones who survive the kinship wars and they win, they can scale into society because they can use those same skills of dominance, mask it with better symbolization, and they can sort of push through the world. But the ones who lose, or who can't figure it out, But the codependent ones, or the fragile narcissist ones, they never develop social skills to scale up past just kinship versus kinship, do or die sort of mindset. Your scared shitless baby never gets unscared. If your scared shitless baby gets paralyzed at a young age, it doesn't keep up with the normal developmental stage of teenage socialization, social scripts, all the other stuff. The person does compensations and hacks to create a fake social self, so they can pass as the neurotic, but they don't really have the independent, separate infrastructure. If you can't survive the kinship battle, you aren't hardy enough to survive it, then you're stuck in this young mindset. Ooh, where did it start? Here was a bait. Steve-O said, "Great, I'm seeing Darvo play out." What does that mean without context? So Brad's asking for context, but when Brad asks for context, then Steve goes on the attack. Even if I try to answer you, Brad, you are going to mock me as a bed-sick patient. I guess one can't jade with a narcissist. What does jade stand for? Justify something. Justify, argue, defend, explain. That doesn't even make any sense. Jade is supposed to be a pointer to get you to not argue back or something. So, guess one can't jade with a narcissist. Of course you can justify, argue, defend, and explain against a narcissist or a borderline. It just doesn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
This is the reveal. He's a bed-sick patient. I would track the pain points. Don't argue the you look for reveals. That's a reveal. And then you go, he does this. If you jade, you're the asshole. This is a sign of concrete thinking. Symbolic equation. He's taking in courses, and he's not understanding the context, and then he's interpreting it into formulas that are fragmented, that are stupid.
Yeah, much like the rules.
He's got the rule, he's trying to learn the rule. Then he's saying,
Right.
if I do this, then I'm that. That's apples and oranges.
Yeah, out of context.
So these lines here are evidence that he has fragmented thinking. This is evidence his antipsychotics aren't working, or he's off of them, or something's happening. His brain is saying soft or mild thought disorder. This answer was also potentially pretty telling. Whispers can be counted as one. So he heard some rumors or heard a whisper. The whisper could be from someone else, could be
Yes.
from a voice, could be from time distortion taken out of context, but he'll believe it because he has sensory gating issues. He has figure ground issues. He's really confused.
Yeah, that's...
He'll see one offense, then he'll overdo it, and then he'll fight for life over the mistaken whatever. And then later on, he'll realize and say, "Oh fuck, I was mistaken." I think he made a YouTube comment about like attacking something, and it was because he mistook one of his neighbors doing something. So he's arguing on YouTube, but the trigger was a neighbor, and it was a misinterpretation of the neighbor. The whisper can be counted as one. This is the lack of evidence he has, or that he's owning that he's arguing from a fragment right here. Because if you talk to someone who's fragmented, you want to make sense of it, because your reality tester is built to make sense of, to make predictable patterns and read social scripts and try to decipher what the other person is saying. So we're going to go over time and fill in context that he must have like a decent argument. There must be something solid or some. There's beef, because he's acting like they're beef, but then he's saying that it's just from a whisper. So he's owning that his evidence is just a distortion or a fragment. He's not sure, and he's just gonna attack the ghost like it's life or death. And in fact, he's even using the jade as an excuse to do thought distortion. So instead of justifying, defending, and explaining, all he says is like, oh, I got a whisper. I got a hunch. I heard. He doesn't need evidence. He doesn't need to justify. He doesn't need to argue, defend, or explain. He just makes a claim and just goes with it. Isn't that a fun way to argue? It gives you freedom to go all over the place.
Yes. Wow.
You can skirt around shit. Why do you think Holly's so good? Because she doesn't need to have jade. She doesn't need to be consistent. She can be a hypocrite. She can be angry about stuff that she's doing. She doesn't care. She's free to make fragmented arguments from psychotic confidence, and we get stumped because we're projecting that their beef, the intensity of the argument, means that there's thinking behind it. There's
right. So long as you can drag the other party along, you're engaged after in some strange way.
See, Brad even says, "Where's the evidence of your claim, Steve?" What does Steve say? Where it needs to be at.
Mm-hmm.
What the f- So then if you start tracking the energy, who's doing more of the mental lifting?
Yeah,
Who's doing more of the
Brad
grounding?
right now, but
I assume that there is a pattern that I can figure out, but there isn't a pattern at all.
No. There's the pattern is they're reenacting their childhood. Great. I'm seeing Darvo playing out. This is time distortion. So you're saying, I want to play out Darvo. That's just... I want to act out Darvo. I need someone to blame for Darvo. That's...
Yeah, so that. And then he wants to claim victim. So I could predict that. What I didn't... where was it? Yeah, that Jade with a narcissist. Couldn't make any sense of that.
Well, let's say he's taking it literally, symbolic equation, concrete thinking. So he's using this as an excuse to not have to justify, defend, or explain, or argue. He can just attack.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, and then use Darvo
Think of Holly.
to be... Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's just Holly's technique, but it's really sloppy. They're not hiding their idiocy. We're projecting a non-idiot onto them. Okay, so what if kinship warfare leads to developmental absence? So it's not just a delay, they just stop developing. Granted, they developed social mask, so they've learned they can still pretend adult, and they can still do work, and they can still sort of navigate through the world. They never scaled up to navigating shame cultures, honor, guilt, law and order. It's just too complicated. They don't have the mental infrastructure. They don't have the emotional containment. They just have impulses and a bunch of ADHD to make sure they don't relive their past. But by not reliving their past, they act it out. Brad says, what's with the Darvo comment? And then Steve says, repent. This is the upside of sensory gating issue. This is upside of figure ground deficit. Every new frame feels like new. He can keep on attacking. He has his symbolic equation that says, I don't need to jade. I can just make a claim and attack and just go. Actually, this is useful because this is how ALG Dick argues. It frustrates me because in the past I would try to argue the points because he made it look more intelligent. But then he'd never reply. He'd just disappear and make another attack. So he does this same strategy, but it's a bit more intellectual. It's not as infantile. But it seems like the same tactic. Because he claimed that you mocked him as a bedsick patient. But
Oh, I did.
it's true, he was a bedsick patient. And he still is. So
He still is. What's the
he
problem?
wants you to be the world because you're delivering the reality that he doesn't want to digest. If he attacks you as a bad person, he doesn't have to think about the reality of being a bedsick patient, not being in school, or whatever fucking failures he has. If he attacks you, he feels more powerful. He has someone to attack. You can't attack the world. This is a hard argument. We want them to be predictable, so we project agency, agenda, planning. But where's the evidence? Is there proof that they're this plotting whatever, that they're actively thinking of the passive aggression and all this other shit? Is there proof? So if Steve read this, or saw this, and then saw this, and didn't like it, what he could do was he could go to what was right before it. Brad. Attack Brad to forget this. And forget this.
Yeah, because it's out of context. Yeah.
No, this is what Ellie would do. This is when Ellie had the big attack about Mouse, and Mouse's YouTube comment about no one's gonna remember you. You don't need to tell us. It was because of what was happening right before that on the YouTube that she's trying to forget. And once you argue about the stupidity or whatever, we helped Ellie forget what she wanted to forget. This might be the tricky thing with psychotics because of the time distortion. They can fool themselves by trying to reverse time. So their brains will overreact to something after to try to, because of their sensory gating issues. Every single gate is new. So if they can make the next gate really emotive and exciting by attacking someone with like a lot of force, they forget the last gate. So if he attacks you, Brad, after seeing this and that, and he can get all lost in that fight, he forgets this. It goes into unconscious. He doesn't fully forget it, but it gets taken out of conscious awareness.
So he's fooling himself, right? That's all he's doing.
He's trying to fool himself, yes.
Yeah. So that's the self-gaslighting, poking your own eyes out.
Yes, they're poking his own eyes out, and he's trying to self-gaslight, but he can't do it alone. He needs someone as a proxy, moral cosplay, to fight against. So that he feels... he plays helpless victim so he doesn't feel like he's led his life into loserdom. So he's trying to block the reality that his life is going nowhere. He's not fighting against this. He's fighting against what came after and what came before. There's a freedom in this. If we can't,
Oh, yeah.
if we have a reality tester, we have to have context to navigate the world. If you're psychotic and you don't need context, you can fragment and you can mix and match, you can reverse time, you can win a battle after you lost it. It's like, there's a lot of freedom there.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
But also here, the way out is pity. So once you see that they're hurting and miserable, and they're more miserable and tortured inside, then I'm arguing this would help them to help you see them predictable. So you start tracking their hurt and misery.
With him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My interaction with him was just sort of water off a duck's back with me. It was just sort of batting it back. There's just nothing.
Well, he's easier. He's easier than Holly.
Oh, yes, Holly.
Holly, you get close on audio, you can hear her laugh a little on the rewatch. Because she'll jump to a new thing and attack you, because you almost got her pinned her somewhere. And then when you argue against the next frame, she gives a giggle, Duper's delight. So she's more calculated. Steve is just idiotic, so it's easier to.
Well, Holly's been at it. I mean, Holly's been on the ground here in the real world for a couple of centuries, so she's had a bit more experience.
She's worked jobs, and so she's navigated much better than Steve.
She's seen both world wars, President Taft, right? So she knows it all. Kelly's.
Fragmented thinking plus anti-reality stance means if too much reality is their kryptonite, disowned truth is their kryptonite. If you spotlight their disowned truth too much, with too much emotionality, too much script, their whole inner subsystem falls apart, or it's a giant ouch. So it's a giant ouch, and then the giant ouch might awaken an inner fragment. So they'll have a fragmented inner thing of some memory they haven't integrated, and it would flood their whole internal subsystem. So it's an implosion that's sort of like an explosion attacking your Cyclops gaze or whoever the mirror is. Sheila does that on the ALG to me. And then, but now she sort of realized it doesn't work. So they're separate, but she would go full blast on any sort of reflection or mirror on anybody. So here, internal mirror fragments and persecutory images are mistaken for absolute reality. And some of this stuff happens at a preverbal level or an impulsive level. So it might feel more real than real to them. That's where Lacan says the real is like imaginary, floods the whole system, in stuff that can't be symbolized. So if the spotlight's too big, their ability to symbolize shuts down. And then they just have all this repressed panic, urgency, unfelt feelings just floods them. it's a catch-22 because they also can be flooded by a bunch of perverse jouissance. So they can get off on like some cheap win or self-gaslighting or some delusional shit. So they get the positive delusions, but they also have the negative delusions. Any sort of, they'll fall into a vortex of their own unprocessed childhood kinship warfare shit. So if somebody is at the kinship level, they stop here. They're only at this primal scene and castration in the real. They might get to like the shame level, but they don't really get to, they only have like this, they have mirror capture. So if you spotlight them too much while they're playing out their moral cosplay shit, then they collapse into scared shitless baby space. They get a flashback from their childhood, make you the abuser, the bad god or good god. And then their imaginary stuff feels more real than real. And they discharge it onto you or anyone around them that's convenient. Oh, and then here, this works for autism. So if autism is down here, symbolic, and an autistic person wants to share their castration and their real too much to neurotics. Then when you share it to neurotics too much, then neurotics see it as symbolic castration. You're messing up their ego narrative. And when you mess up their ego narrative, then they shut you down and socially sanction you. Because it's castration versus castration, and they have better symbols. Because you give them castration, you trigger too much guilt. They're going to start ruminating about being an imposter. They're going to get self-hate. They don't want that, so they attack Chantal the messenger. And it works because they're the majority, neurotic structure.
So I'm actually making them collapse.
Yeah, you're triggering a collapse of this. Neurotics are operating on the hero narrative. That's the seduction fantasy.
Yeah, I don't make them feel like a hero.
Yes. That leads to risk of collapse.
Yeah, and that the imposter syndrome, I activate it fully.
So they do this, or they don't jump down to beating fantasy, because you might trigger this if they're not a full neurotic. A humiliation spiral. So you spotlight them too much, then they fall into a vortex of childhood humiliation.
Oh boy.
This will help predict the landmines out there. Can't change the past unless you're a psychotic. Or you have some psychotic, you can try to change the past, but that's a fucking mess. You can change the future, so the future is you get aligned. So you write a history and then you map out things and you kill the symbolic father and face your next father. So if the head is motivated by guilt, and then the heart level is motivated by shame and mirroring, so this is the mirror stage. And if autistics don't get mirroring, they don't really learn attachment. Then if codependence and CPTSD people got distorted mirroring, this stage isn't secure. You got insecure attachment, disorganized attachment. So then this is, I think, the heart stage is where mad baby and sad baby hang out. Mad baby's probably driven by castration anxiety. So you have your punitive inner critic. If that's superego, that's mad baby. And you have your id that counterbalances it, which is the rage baby. That's castration energy. And then if you have a demanding, over-controlling, whatever, critic, inner demander, that's more separation anxiety. Or that's more scolding mommy. And then scolding mommy energy is counterbalanced by left alone, sad baby. And with a BPD, they do these things. They're scared of abandonment terror. And then they have the splitting, where they do the angry child out the wazoo. So most codependents are in this sort of moral cosplay beating fantasy. And then individually, last week you were like the Che Vu. So that's navigating the seduction fantasy. Because if you don't give the response to the seduction fantasy, the people socially sanction you. People need their hero narrative. If you aren't properly joining the script, you don't know what they want, there's consequences. The consequences can lead to them acting out castration anxiety or separation anxiety onto you. And then you have a nameless dread fear, because when this acts out on you, you get dumped into the primal scene, the gut impulses. There, you get dumped into that nameless dread. So that was last soon. What's the answer for seduction fantasy? If I get it wrong, I'm going to fall into nameless dread, certainty of persecution. So I will shapeshift to try to give the right answer to the seduction fantasy. And then autistic people have to keep their sensory castration to themselves, because then you're gonna, if you share too much of it, you trigger symbolic castration in the majority. So object relation says like splitting, paranoid schizoid splitting is bad or regression. But at the kinship warfare level, family good, enemy bad, strongest person in family, dominator wins, winner take all. That's splitting is eye for an eye. That's fair game. Hit first before you get hit. don't get sucker punched, but if you get sucker punched by a weaker family, then you punch back and hit harder. Murderous rage baby out of control. This builds a skill of being paranoid, but the paranoid is true. You're living in a society where there's blood oaths and shame and people just impulsively attack each other. So your paranoia is not, it's useful. It keeps you sharp. So now you're directing your paranoia to social dangers around you, and you're surviving. You're not focused on the relationship, you're focused on retaliation and winning. Notice the difference? So here you got this goal, and then Western society wants you to focus on heart attachment. But kinship rules, retaliation. Don't lose. Different rule set. Simple. Chinese culture, a lot of the movies are like the wife or the son wants to take out the father, so they rally the people and then they take over the family. So deception and then taking over the power or killing the teacher, that's fair game in Chinese culture. It's usually for cultures that have the families that had money and power. If you're just an ordinary family, you don't get into all this stuff. And then it'd be like the claustrum in Meltzer's setup, where everyone's in the maternal rectum. It's just rule by idol and rule by tyranny. But rule by tyranny is unfair, because if you survive the rule by tyranny and you beat up the other families, that's a lot of fun. If you're the victor, victor wins everything. If you're the loser, then you get revenge later. There's a logic to that. And there's different strategies. So you can be the strongest winner now, but then maybe your family might die out 2 generations later. Or you can be a family that can play the long game. Maybe be shamed for a couple generations, but then beat out that family 4 generations later. So what? Kinship wars can work. Oh, this might be cool. So you have an exoskeleton. So instead of having an ego that's pursuing a hero narrative, you have an ego that becomes harder, and you know it's a fake role, and you know it's a warfare. And then you know when you take off the armor, that's not you. So you don't mistake your identity for your exoskeleton. That might be higher level kinship. The losers of kinship just start hiding their head because they're fucking losers. Because kinship is like, if you have impulses and you can build the skill, you're good. If you don't have impulses, then you should die somewhere. Because kinship is just impulse. Can you be useful for survival? Or useful for the family for something. There isn't this. It's gut. So gut is power. If you have no power, you're a drag for the family. Granted, Chinese families don't throw away people that are blood, I think. So you can still keep your own family, but The prioritization is different than this attachment, whatever shit. And you get like intergenerational transmission of trauma, but also like shame and honor. So your identity is based on your generation and your descendants. Albania has these cool things where like the son or grandson will try to kill the other family to get even. Old beef. The Western culture would call it a pathology, but these cultures have survived too, so it's functional. Maybe that's why somebody who's psychotic or autistic, they might function well in this, with this system.
You haven't been communicating with none of these babies.
Of all the babies, like, you know, the good compliant.
So watch this part.
None of these babies.
Of all the babies.
So the non-verbals, I would say, is kinship impulses. So these impulses are physical posturing that more of the men were keeping Pankaj contained. But then when Ellie came and sort of switched the rules and Ania Khan and some of the old people left, and then Pankaj got Rock and these other wimpy, fragile men to support his bullshit, that changed the dynamic of kinship posturing. So
He became emboldened.
yes, but he's doing the same goal here. So he's still trying to win the kinship impulse battle by trying to get a fight in and losing again and again and again. But then later on he got emboldened because he got more numbers for the perverse agenda. Mm, 14.
Babies, like, you know, the good compliant.
The good compliant baby. So he's telling you his agenda. He wants the littles to be good and compliant. The ones that aren't need to be socialized. Beat the shit up to be a good compliant baby. That's his inner subsystem.
Well-mannered, well-behaved baby is the good baby. So the reinforcement, all the other babies
All the other babies
are just not integrated into the whole thing.
Where's the compassion for all the other babies? They're just not integrated into the whole thing. He's trying to hide his disgust of the babies that aren't good-natured.
Because you haven't been communicating with none of these babies.
It's fucking obvious. That's this posture. You've exiled your fucking babies. It's obvious. Kinship impulse.
Since birth. Yeah.
Since birth, then he softens because we're all programmed to be neurotic and pretend civil.
Or I mean, you've communicated with them, but then you divorced them, and then you left them, and you didn't know that over that time that you left them, they've turned into monsters.
Or that could be like amplifying. You left them, you divorced them. They're really pissed off. And what's Pankaj is, he's trying to block the info right there. That posture.
So now you have to come back and
You have to come back. The gesture. You have to come back. Look at Pankaj's reaction.
so now you have to come back and say,
That's the lack of filter. That's the God voice. That's a sensory gating. Anything he hears, he has to imagine in his head. It's like a little injunction. You have to come back and talk to all the little inner children that you've been shitting on all your life. He knows what's going to happen, or his body does.
into monsters. So now you have to come back and say, okay, hey guys, I'm sorry for leaving you.
Let me scheme.
You guys for so long. Let's get together. You're okay
Let me tense up.
as you are. And it's like, oh, even with the horns and the tail and the sharp teeth. And it's like, come on, that's you're here, you're family. Come on.
5 styles of coping strategies, public faces.
Of the babies.
No, these are public faces. The babies are hidden, exiled. He's so stupid he couldn't separate the babies from the public faces because the babies are so exiled, so distorted, so out of his consciousness that the social masks seem like the babies to him. That's where all the... Actually, he might be acting like a kid with his clown act, so that might be why. They're locked up, and they turned into demons like a neocon said. When you don't let your exiles, your inner children, be integrated with jobs, they become demons. They become demons. I'm posturing forward as a physical act of aggression. Not consciously planning this, because this is how our impulses work. So I'm tracking his desire to sort of exile the children, and then he's got inner children that are demons that a neocon is pitching, and then I'm sensing out, and I'm trying to posture out to deliver an aggressive, impulsive argument. Jobs, they become demons. They're in the dark. They distort. They act out.
Their brains are like babies, but they're giants. They're immense. That's why they have so much control. Like, they're powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they make...
I'm not sure what he says here, whether it's power or oh yeah, but it's his weak version of dismissing it.
like babies, but they're giants. They're immense. That's why they have so much control. Like, they're powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they
have so much control. And he just tries to weaken that argument by saying, power, yeah, or something like that.
make the adult, look like a child. That's how strong and influential they are. You know, so I created these series of this image.
This image. The timing of the posturing with the words.
These series of this image
is communicating impulse to impulse.
And a bunch of other ones, because I thought, oh, when I confront the child, I'm going to meet a child. And I met that. That was the child I met.
So in those first 5 that you had, that those are like the facades of adult, how they behave in the world.
Those are coping strategies.
On the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, those.
I want to have more compensations.
That's the mask.
That's the mask.
That's how you cope.
That's how you cope.
This is how I can understand all this stuff we're talking about. Like, I have to create it visually like this, and then it really makes sense, and I connect to it more.
And Kurt's one is the logical. So who's serving this?
Who's serving this? Pharaoh Lotus, who's serving what? Total distortion of what Kurt said. And he corrects it. So Honkage is hearing not even what's said. He's inventing stuff in his head. That's the level of amazing self-gaslighting that he has and the other psychotic and perverse people. So we try to get more precise in our language because they mishear stuff, but they might have genuine, like, fragmented brain damage, so they're actively hearing different stuff.
Like the dialogue.
I think he went back to what age that he... And that posture isn't very confident in his idea. Oh, did it pass? Do I have someone that can help me? He didn't have people to help his fucking idiocy back then. But now with the rebirthers and the back channels, they could encourage fucking stupid comments. And encourage fucking stupid, obvious reality testing in VG as they go, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's this active gaslighting of distorted reality from the rebirthers or back channels. He felt it to try to categorize it based on...
Yeah, mine was like a meditation on.
Oh, was the sort of the wrinkle, the itching is like going, what the fuck? Where the hell did you hear that?
Meditation on when.
There's his attempt of a posture, meditation. Did you like the word?
Did I first feel this? Like a sensory memory. Like at what age does this resonate? You know, I feel this feeling. It's familiar. When did I feel it?
You haven't been communicating with none of these babies.
The logical. So who's serving this? So who's serving this? So who's serving this?
You haven't been communicating with none of these babies. They're immense. That's why they have so much control. Like, they're powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they make the adult, look like a child. Now you have to come back and say, okay, hey guys, I'm sorry for leaving you guys for so long. Let's get together. You haven't been communicating with none of these babies.
So this might be another level of listening to the body language. Body language might be evidence of preverbal and impulsive sort of communications. But if you're around a bunch of self-gaslighters, they're going to ignore the gestures, or they're going to do joint gestures around perverse motivations. Perverse motivations like ocular gluttony.
For the chameleon, I put like ocular gluttony, wanting to see into everything.
Other realms, other possibilities, other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ocular gluttony.
That's the floaty. He's owning the floaty.
Yeah, it's this.
Ocular.
But I thought Rock was sort of saying this Lotus stuff was bullshit, but he's really into it here.
No, the if he was saying there was bullshit later, that's because he's masking his own deception for the group.
Yeah, I think he was playing along more than he'd like to think.
Both of this ocular gluttony is the perverse
Chameleon, I
nature.
put like ocular.
I don't know if this might be like some universal gesture or some sort of perversion or something. Some incestuous motivation, but they both came up with equal gestures. Of looking into people, maybe invading them.
Gluttony.
And then the timing of ocular gluttony, so the pauses and the emphasis, that's a bit harder to track. But ocular gluttony, and then Honkage has a much more less anxious, confident, something satisfied look.
Wanting to see into everything.
Other realms, other possibilities, other
Yes.
See, so they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And then the yeah. That's Rock's nonverbal tells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Bit sexualized of a yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid and illogical and dumb. Fuck.
Well, it's logical at the gut level. It's logical at the impulse level. It's logical at the blood-feud kinship level. If you see the logic, then you can predict the behavior. Then you can stop getting all confused by it. Because there is a logic. The logic is they're chasing after jouissance. The jouissance is a way for them to escape their flashbacks. It's the upside of fragmented thinking, that they can fragment fantasies that are amazing and believe it and feel like that's heaven. They're putting all their creative energy towards creating the inner heaven, chasing the dragon. They're not hacking the real world. That's hard. That's not instantly satisfying. That takes a long time of small gradual things, and then eventually you hack something. It's trickier. This was from today, earlier, our recent second date update or first date follow-up.
Kendra is on the phone and she's getting ghosted by a guy named
Don't have any subtitles, but
Noah, so we're about to call him and see if he'll tell us why he's ghosting her and maybe get her a second date. But first, Kendra, why don't you remind us why you think you're getting ghosted again?
Because I kicked his ass at Super Mario Smash Brothers and he can't take it. He can't take a strong woman.
All right. Well, let's see if that is the reason. Here we go. I'm going to dial his phone number right now.
Hello.
Hi, may I speak to Noah, please?
Speaking. Who is this?
Hey, Noah, how are you? This is a radio show. It's called The Jubal Show.
Hi, Noah. I'm Nina.
Hi, I'm Victoria.
And my name is Jubal. What's going on?
Hi.
Have you ever
Nice
listened to the show before?
I can't say that I have, honestly.
Well,
Okay, that's fine. Well, you can check it out whenever you want to. You can just go sing them. That person can email us. Yes?
Yeah, she's psychotic. Where's this
Kendra.
from?
Buddy.
Okay, that's weird.
Her name is
who's this
Kendra.
from?
And she said that you guys had a great time, and she's wondering why you're ghosting her. Would you mind telling us?
Yeah, she's psychotic.
how psychotic is he going to describe her? What's the evidence trail?
Whoa.
Okay.
Psychotic? We talked to her. She didn't
Psychotic.
sound.
That's
She
the word I
sounded
said.
pretty chill.
See? Neurotic norm will defend the psychotic if they mask well enough.
Very chill, actually. What makes you say that she's psychotic?
Psychotics are confident and smooth. They develop their social mask. A lot of them can pass. Not all of them are like ALG Sheila.
Okay, so it was our first date, and like, keep that in mind. First date, all right? And she started off by asking a whole bunch of like weird questions, and like, it was so weird that even the bartender was like, she gets up, goes to the bathroom, and he comes up and he asks me like, "How long have you guys been dating?" I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I just met this girl.
Okay.
She comes back. She asks for my sister's number so they can become friends. Like, dude, that's weird.
Okay, that's a little much on a first date.
Like,
Yeah.
We get to talking. I mentioned, I'm going to my cousin's wedding, and she was like, "Oh yeah, cool, I can go. Let me just make sure that check my calendar.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure I'm available." Like, what?
So you didn't like invite her to the cousin's wedding. She just said she's down to go.
It was just
She just
flirty.
she just invited herself, and then
Is she
she's like,
serious?
"Oh, she says, she can't wait to meet my parents." She could tell from my Instagram that I'm in a close family, and that's one of the things that she loved about me. Yo, I never gave her my Instagram.
Oh.
Okay, but that's not weird. People find people on Instagram before they
See, women, girl code.
go on
And then
dates.
she said the word loved. Yes.
I love that about
She used
you.
the word love.
Okay.
Like, dude, I just met you. All right, but all of that said, the most disturbing part of the whole night was that we went to a barcade and we were playing Super Mario Smash Brothers.
Okay.
So she beats me, fine, whatever. But after she beats me, she looks at me with this weird, calm look, and she says, what did she say? She said, "I've memorized the shape of your fear. Just know that you will never beat me at this game. I own you."
The shape.
What?
The shape of your fear?
That's a taunt. That's sort of this blood feud. This always retaliate. And she was rewarded by that in her family, or that's the attachment pattern she has. Is there more? She hasn't responded yet. How will she respond?
Incredible line.
The shape of your fear. There's no laughter.
Whoa.
There's no reaction. It was just cold staring into my eyes, man.
Are you so
It gave me
serious?
chills. As soon as she said it, I was like, "This is how the Netflix documentary of my life starts up." This is how I disappear.
All right.
Oh, so now you can communicate.
Whoa.
Hey, Noah, that's Kendra. She's actually on the phone and wants to talk to you.
She's talking about the shape of her fear, and then there she is. I'm sorry.
I knew it was because you couldn't handle it.
Look, the girls were laughing. That's how much girls enjoy girl code and support other fucking psychotic women. There's a joy of misogyny.
Wants to talk to you.
She's talking about the shape of her fear, and then there she is.
And there she is. Ha 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 ha. What's that laughter? Laughter is a guy suffering. What else could it be? Unless it could be, I guess, anxiety. But
Yeah, this is sick.
Oh, so now you can communicate.
it's not sick. This is the rules of the game. Women fall into the psychotic tribal groupthink, tear down men way easier than guys do. Look at how Holly did in this group, but what Holly did in this group, taking sides, changing sides, that's women. Women aren't loyal to each other.
I think I missed something because I don't know women who do that. But I don't know. I'm probably stupid.
I don't know. You're judging it. That doesn't mean you don't have any of that. You don't. Your woman's side wouldn't do anything like that.
No?
I'm not up to date on women archetypes, but I'm pretty sure there's probably archetypes of, I think, animus possession. That's probably part of the energy. Women enjoy castration anxiety for guys, or guys who get castrated, because women don't have the same male masculine castration energy. They don't have that same force. So there is a insecurity in women that enjoy getting even against guys because they don't have a penis, and they also don't have the one-track minded stupidness of men.
Yeah, I think I'm too stupid or socially retarded to get that game. Holly talked about it also, and I don't get that thing. What she call it? Girl code.
It's everywhere.
I'm not so sure about that. I asked some women I know from here, and they were like, that doesn't exist. Sure, you have a rule that, but that's just logical, that you're not going to date your ex, your best friend's ex. But I mean, no, I don't know.
That's a literal thing of girl code, but I think girls and women can fall into mob group packing better. It's like the hen pecking that.
Yeah, that's for sure, but more so to each other.
No, if they have to go fight for the guys in the past, they couldn't get jobs to get the guys. There's a hen pecking for each other, but there's also seeing guys suffer by women. That's also tribalistic. The whole dating scene in the U.S. is filled with this stuff. To think that it's just cultural, it's not universal.
I don't know. I have to check that out because that's not my experience.
Girls are not going to openly admit this. It's an ugly part of girls. They're not going to openly share it.
Okay, I haven't
Actually,
witnessed it.
Sophia openly talks about that because she hates a lot of all the girl craziness. So
Yeah,
most
me
girls
too.
aren't going to openly share it.
No, probably not with me because I would judge it straight away. I find it confusing why they do that.
When she said it, I was like, this is how the Netflix documentary of my life memorized the shape of your fear. Just know that you will never beat me at this game. I own you.
The shape.
What?
The shape of your fear?
That's an incredible line.
The shape of
That's an incredible line.
your fear. There's no laughter.
Whoa.
There's no reaction. It was just cold staring into my eyes, man.
Are you sure
It, like,
she's
gave me
serious?
chills, like,
Are you sure she's serious?
like, as soon as she said it, I was like, this is how the Netflix documentary of my life starts up. Like, this is how I disappear.
All right.
Oh, so now you can communicate.
Whoa.
He's showing genuine fear and surprise.
Hey, Noah, that's Kendra. She's actually on the phone and wants to talk to you.
She's talking about the shape of her fear, and then there she is.
And there she is, laughing. How is that not jouissance about seeing the guy suffer?
I'm sorry.
I knew.
And she apologizes. That's even more evidence that she knows she's going across social norms.
It was because you couldn't
And
handle
she
losing
isn't
to
sorry at
Super Mario.
all.
Yes, that's part of the tribalism, or also the kinship or nonverbal posturing in the world. It's not all mental. and it's not all heart. It's the gut. We don't talk about the gut level, because we want to think we're all mental and we're all heart, empathy, whatever bullshit. The posturing and the nonverbals, that's the underlying power in social interactions and attachment. And you might have extra disgust because you might have more of the sensory floor at the body floor here. But the people with social minds, they're going to just run over you with the gut, because they're going to coordinate together at the gut level. Impulses, that's you'll be outnumbered. Doesn't matter if it's fair or not. You just have to track it. So if you track it, at least you'll be less surprised. But if you're going to fight what is, have fun. You'll tire yourself out.
Smash Brothers. I'm sorry you can't handle a little intense competition, Noah.
Oh.
And I'm sorry I'm not like all those other meek little women you go out with. You ghosted me because you're a typical guy who wants to be good at everything and can't take it when a woman beats you at a video game or anything else.
Look, Kendra.
He already shared. He didn't.
Her tone really changed.
It's kinship wars. It's psychotic. It's all impulses. Moral judgment is not getting through. She's one-track minded. She had to fight brothers or other people in her childhood. She's skilled at impulsive dominance. Mental tricks are not going to do anything for people who are skilled at impulses. You just run away like this guy. He's smart.
Ooh, Kendra, look, I am sorry. Like, I can tell that you're upset because I ghosted you. I just didn't think that you and I are a good match. But, I mean, you're super cool, and I bet there's like a million guys out there that would love to go out with you at some point.
Okay.
Don't placate me, Noah. I'm not one of your Barbie dolls, your pretty little speak when spoken to girls.
Whoa.
Oh.
Speak when spoken to. So that's evidence of those girls are following the social norms. She's not going to be a little Barbie doll.
Give me a break.
No.
Whoa.
No, I am not like that.
Now the girls are saying whoa, because they thought she was okay. Now they're seeing how evil she is.
Kendra, I like strong women. I just think that there's a difference between strong and murdery.
Murdery.
What? Oh, shoot.
You think I'm murdery because I beat you at a video game, you little slut?
Whoa, Kendra.
What is going on? What is this? Look, I didn't care that you beat me at the game. I ghosted you because of what you just said right there.
Whoa.
You are insane.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm insane because I'm a strong woman who knows how to stand up for herself and doesn't just let you win at everything like Tara did.
Who's Tara?
How did you know my ex-girlfriend? Where is it
Because
coming
I
from?
talked
Only one date.
to all of them.
You've
I talked
talked
to all of them. After our date, I was being a good partner, and I called them and told them all to back off.
Competition. If you're in a family system where siblings winner take all, losers lose and second place is loser, the prize is the guy. She'll bully all the other girls.
And you know what? Not one of them put up a fight. I see why you like them. Meek little plastic Barbie doll bitch.
Kendra, this is a little.
Yeah, you shouldn't call his.
She went over the line, but who cares? They're going to try to do their neurotic social sanctions, whatever. It's not going to change her. It's not helping him.
His exes. Anyway.
That's not okay.
Would you like to go on another date? Noah, we'll pay for it.
No. No.
Kendra, I think it's a little much.
Whatever, Noah. You have fun with zero challenge in your life, and I'll still save the date for your cousin's wedding, so maybe I'll see you there.
Kendra, you can't do that.
She just hung up.
Okay, maybe you were
Noah?
right. No, I apologize.
I think you were on
apologize.
point with that one, man.
I want to be careful.
You might want to be careful. Now they recognize that. So does Brene Brown show evidence of kinship wars? I think her history had that.
I think the worst I've ever felt about myself is when I'm winning an argument and know I'm lying I'll argue this person like with both hands tied behind your back. And you know that you're winning and you know it's not true. It's like you've got them doubting what they did and they're right.
You're basically gaslighting is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks, but it's to protect identity.
Or to fight against having to be vulnerable. To say, I'm scared.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, I'm scared. Or like, that hurt my feelings. Or I wanted you to make a bigger deal out of this.
Like 300 arguments until you finally get to the point of being able to say like what it is that you're afraid of or what it is you're feeling. Because I would much rather talk about things in the safe terrain of like, hey, let's play analytical ice hockey. You know, if I get the chance to smash your argument against the boards, I'm going to take that. And then I'll feel really great because I won. And that's what I do with like rhetoric, even though my argument.
He'll feel really great. Is that an impulsive jouissance? Substituting a mental battle for making something in the world.
It makes no real sense. Doesn't matter.
And the stupidest part is you don't even get what you want when you win the intellectual argument. It never gets you what you want.
Still lonely.
One time you say what you need and someone's happy to meet it and it's over. It's so stupid.
Yeah. I don't know. Winning is no replacement for intimacy or connection or those things, but it's so much safer.
Gaslighting.
Winning an argument, so much safer. Winning an argument.
Gaslighting.
So much safer.
Gaslighting is what you're doing.
And what's her swimming story?
This is like my embarrassing story. So I have to pace my laps so that I don't end up accidentally pushing off the wall the same time as anyone else in the pool. Because if I push off the wall at the same time as anyone in a lane on either side of me, I will race them. And it's funny, but it's sad funny. So there was a guy training for a triathlon. He was probably in his early 20s. I'm old enough to be his mom. And I was like, all right, you want to do this? You know, like really just looking at him, like getting my cap on, getting my goggles ready, like, you want to dance? We'll dance. Let's go. You know, he doesn't see me. He doesn't care about me. And I hurt my shoulder so bad racing him that I couldn't swim for 6 weeks.
That's how automatic these impulses, kinship wars.
So I'm swimming. I get home from swimming and Steve's like, how's your swim? Because he also swims. I'm like, oh, it was good. I kicked ass. And he goes, you know, were you swimming timed 50s? What were you doing? What do you mean you kicked ass? And I said, I mean, just I swim fast. And I felt good. And he goes, did you race somebody, Brene? I was like, she swims a lot. Oh, yeah. How old is she? I don't know. She's like, you know, back half, like the rest of us. How back half? Look, she's 85, but let me tell you something. She's a good swimmer. And he said, what'd you beat her in? And I said, everything.
It's a bit dense, but I think it can be practical. It even tells you what are some proper moves to respond. So if someone's trapped in the beating fantasy, you don't try to interpret too early. You try to maybe work with the grief, hold a boundary. So containment and try to get the grief spoken. And then if someone is more psychotic structure, don't keep the empathy at a distance and try to just provide some structure. This is hard to do because they have that oceanic merging. And they stink of all this shit. Scatty. That stuff. It's hard to be neutral when someone's scared shitless baby is flooding that energy. Neurotics and other people might say Deef is cruel. There's the person believes they're scared, but there's nothing happening. Where's the threat? Why should I join you or join whoever is crying foul of terror when why is it my responsibility to join you or join you being angry at someone because you're scared and whatever persecuted? Where's the danger? But Westerners help other people's eco-repair, or they identify with the, oh, I was scared like that, let me join. Oh. That's also why, yeah, projective identification is tricky, because similarity is identification. Yeah. Individual self, if someone's similar enough. Oh, that's me. I got to defend or attack because that's my life. Oh, this is basically like Steve-O and maybe the perverse structures map. So instead of building bottom up, impulse, integrate your aggression impulses, then healthy mirroring, and then mental structure. So, gut, heart, head, developmental. The people abandoned their gut, then they had to play the parent, so then they had to do the mind, and then they dismiss the emotions, and then they dismiss reality that floods them with gut-level truth that they're a bed-sick patient that's a fucking hopeless train wreck case. So they don't want to accept the reality of their environment, so then they find someone to attack. Brad's Cyclops gaze. Cyclops gaze allows him to block this and allows him to avoid this.